Hey YouTube, Mike that tankless guy here. How we all doing today? I hope we all had a safe and productive week. Alrighty, this is actually, let me just take my phone off here. This is actually the second attempt I'm having at this video, because I did this video last week, but it appears that my new router for my Wi-Fi and internet is giving feedback to my new camera. So I unplugged it and I gotta look and see if there's some type of filter I need to get. So we're trying this again. Alrighty, so today we're starting on the NPE model of the Navien unit. We finished the NPN model, the non-condensing, and this is the condensing model. So what I have here in front of you is an NPE 210A2. They also make an S2, and an S2 is the same model, but it doesn't have the circulation system in. Where if you want to put the Navi-circ valve, or if you want to put if you have a dedicated return line, you can use this unit with it. Now let me just grab a brochure here. All right, they make a 150, a 180, a 210, and a 240. On the 150, they only make an S2, not a circulating model. But on the 180, the 210, and the 240, they make an A2 and an S2. So, like, well, I use the S2s in like a commercial application. It's right near the kitchen, excuse me, or it's right near the commercial laundry. I will put that in, or we put a bank of them in because we have a separate circulating system coming back from the hotel, and I'll put a bank of them in. So, what is this unit? All right, it is a condensing model, and as you can see at the top here, it is vented with PVC only. It does not give you the option of concentric venting, like other models, other brands, excuse me. So, you have a 2-inch exhaust, which is on this side, and it's got always a yellow paper on it, because that yellow paper explains, I'll show you, there is a vent safety switch. Just like, well, it's not there. We had a training, so it's downstairs on my other props. And then on the left side is your air intake. The unit weighs about 80 pounds, and it is 26 inches or 27 inches high by, I think it's around 17 inches, yeah, 17 inches wide. And it is, to the front cover, is about 13 3/4, 13 5/8. Now, the unit, opposed to the NPN model, is hung with a bracket. So inside the box, when you get the unit, you're going to see in a slot in the top of the styrofoam, you're going to see a bracket. Now, I do not have an extra bracket to show you. I will show it on another video, because you need the bracket to hang the unit. Now, this happens to be on, let me just take off the locks here. This happens to be on their rack system. So let me just pull this over, and you can actually see the bracket. So the bracket is right here. That's the bracket. And there's 2 hooks in it, and there's 2 corresponding catches in the back of the actual unit. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna mount that at your height that you want it. And then I would highly suggest 2 people picking this unit up, hooking it on the 2 hooks that are mounted onto this unit, and then the bottom you can just screw right into the wall. Again, the way we do it is we actually mount 2x4s. We mount them roughly 27 inches apart. We mount the top bracket, 2 of us pick it up, we hang it, and then we shoot screws into the bottom. Now, remember, this unit, let me bring it back here. and lock the two casters here so it don't roll away. Okay, this unit in the box or out of the box is natural gas. Remember, with the NPN model, you have to buy natural or propane, and then they make a universal, which can be used inside, or you can put a hood on it, like I showed in a previous video. This unit, all you need is one unit because it's natural gas from the factory. So from Korea, it comes natural gas. There is a conversion kit in it. I will show it to you. But the unit is also an inside, or there is a hood that can be put on this. And again, in a future video, we're going to be going over that. And there's two screws that you put in either side that holds the hood on. And what it does, it has an exhaust tube that goes down into the exhaust, and then there is the box takes the fresh air. So this unit is 4 things. Natural propane, inside, outside. All I got to do is carry one, and I'm good. You don't need to have, 4 different types of units. So this is what you're looking at. It has its own built-on controller, and everything in this controller, again, we're going to go into future video. Everything with this controller, you can program. You program the date, the time. You program the altitude. If there's circulation, no circulation, interior, exterior circulation. So there's a pump built into it. But if you need to add a secondary pump because you need more than, say, 4 gallons a minute, you could put an exterior pump. That there is actually a switch in there that you can switch, or a valve that you could switch from interior, exterior. The unit has cold water, hot water, and a separate recirc line. And I'm going to just take the camera off now to show it to you so I can leave the camera on for the rest of the video. So you do not need to tie your recirc into your cold water. So here is the cold water right here. Filter. Condensate drain. Condensate trap clean out. Recirc. Hot water. Gas. Filter for your pump. And it has a built-in check valve. So you're actually putting if you do have a dedicated return line, you're actually going to be putting it, excuse me here, get this stupid thing back on. There we go. Alrighty. All right, let's get that camera back in there. So you're actually going to be putting the return line back into a separate tap. If you don't have a dedicated return line, you leave the factory installed cap, and then you would go and put your thermal bypass valve in at the most troublesome fixture. And again, go back in a video, you'll actually see the prop with the thermal their Navi-circ valve. All right, so let's take the front cover off. Now, you see how I'm holding the front cover on? You don't want it falling down. All right, so there's the unit. Again, this has all American screws and American O-rings. So if you lose a screw, you can go to a local hardware store and get it. So let's bring this a little closer. There we go. Lock this. I'm gonna roll it all around. All right, so controller. You have the means of an exterior controller. So you can take this controller and you run a wire inside the house, and you can put an interior controller so that they don't need to come out here to look at this thing. It has communications cables so you can link these together. It has separate pump terminals. We're going to go all over that in a future video. It's on on-off switch. It has a 5-foot cord, so you do not have to wire it like the NPN model. You do need, if it's inside, you need a regular plug, or well, everything's GFI. But outside, you're going to need to have a GFI with an in-use cover. So just remember, every one of these comes with a cord. So you have your flow control, your water servo valve. This is your primary and secondary heat exchanger, your burner, igniter. This up here is the vent safety. So if you look at this tag that comes with this, it tells you always cut. See, it explains to you how to cut it, how to insert it. It's 3 inches down. So I don't know if you could see on, let me get the right one right here. That one right there. It says that what we do is, again, and it's, remember, Schedule 40 pressure PVC, not foam core, not drainage. So what we do is when we cut that, when we get that measurement with that first piece, I mark it at 3 inches. And then we use we use heat-proof grease, but you want to find a grease that's a little bit friendly with neoprene, the O-rings. Just put a little bit of grease around so it slides in, and if you ever have to take the vent out, it'll help drastically, trust me. We didn't do grease at first, and it was a nuisance to get this in. So that comes with it. There's another yellow tag here saying that it's natural gas, because when you convert this, which is right behind this plate, and here is the conversion kit right here. So you get 2 conversion kits, and then you get a spare parts. So you get some spare parts, O-rings, sight for the opening for the igniter and flame rod. You get a fuse, and you even get some Scotch-Brite to clean the igniter and flame rod. Then you get in the kit, because remember, all of these come natural gas. You get a natural gas high altitude conversion kit, and that's the orifice right there. And if you notice, you get an O-ring and then this figure-8 gasket that's all behind here in case it's bad, or if it crimps, it falls down, damaged, lost, whatever. Then these 2 tiny screws, and that's what actually goes through the orifice plate, and they're very small and you will lose them. So they give you 2 extra. Then you get the propane gas and high altitude conversion kit. See, for propane gas use only, 0 to 10,000 feet. And again, you get the orifice, you get a figure-8 gasket and a round gasket and 2 small screws, and you get the sticker that you can put on and say that it was converted. What I do, after I convert them, I write right here, LP, and the date that we did the installation. That's how I put it right here on the heat exchanger. And both of these you're going to find up here, right near the buffer tank. Here's the buffer tank. So it's a patented Navien product that actually will prevent the cold water sandwiching. It keeps hot water in that. You have your circulating pump, gas valve. You have your venturi, your fan. Again, the vent safety switch is right here. Now, you can common vent these. And again, we'll go through that. You have to lock this out because you're putting a different collar up there, because you're going to take 2 inch and say go into 4 inch or 6 inch. You can buy their venting. They have venting that can vent out. large, if you have 5 of these units, you can vent it with larger PVC pipe. PC board, the water servo valve. This is actually the turbine, so you don't need to futz with anything underneath here and up here to clean it out. The conversion is this tube, so there's 6 screws. There's 2 screws down here on the gas valve. Then you have 4 screws up here. Now, they are a bit tight. And if you go back into my tool video, you'll see a pair of pliers from Nipex that are actually have grooves in the tip, nose of it. So it's very easy to grip onto that and get them off if your screwdriver fails to remove these screws. It's the metal onto the aluminum, kind of like seizes it in a little bit. But I've only had to use the actual pliers twice. So you're removing 4 screws, 2 screws, take it down. I always put it up here. You don't want to get the face of these dirty. Make sure the O-ring stays down here. Then you remove the 2 tiny screws, take out your orifice, put the new orifice in. It's directional, it only goes in one way. Always check the orifice and make sure it says LP on it, that somehow an NG orifice didn't get in. I've had that it didn't get in it. So always visually check the orifice. Put it in, put the screws on, and then you put this all back together. You're going to put these 4 screws in first. Doesn't matter how you take them apart, but you're going to put these 4 in first loosely. Then you're going to manipulate this. There's a little bit of movement on the gas valve in this. Catch these screws, then tighten them up. Now, a little advice. I was going to convert this lying down on our work table before we hang it. And I took it apart and I looked at it. And if I drop that screw or something can drop into this venturi, you're poopy out of luck. If you drop a screw, a lot of times it lands right here. But again, you're outside, you got grass and so on and so forth. You could have dirt. It could get lost. But it's better to get another one of these screws or use one of the tiny screws that you get 4 of them than to have this drop into the venturi. Then you have to take the whole venturi apart and try to shake this thing out. So I stopped it and I said, you know what? I do not recommend doing it lying down because you could lose it. It is easier, but if it drops in there, you gotta take this bolt off, you gotta take all this off, you gotta take this out, and then you're gonna have to start shaking it, and hopefully it'll come out. So I don't advise it. On the unit, once you convert the unit, let me get this right where you need it. Right here. I'm gonna go down a little more. Sorry. Okay. Right here. There's 2 tiny dip switches. There's 1 and 2. So between the external controller and the communications cable, there's 2 dip switches. Dip switch number 1, which is the top one, has to be pushed to on this way towards the actual interior of the unit. What that does is now tell the PC board it's propane gas. When you are ready to start this up, you got your water connected, your gas connected, you vent, you start this thing up. The first thing you're going to do is set the date and the time. Then it's going to ask you about the altitude. Then it's going to ask you the fuel. Everything you're going to hit okay. So you do your hours okay, you do your minutes okay, you do your month and day and year, you do okay. It's year, day, and month. You hit okay. then you go to the altitude, okay. Then you go, it says natural gas or propane. It's on natural. If you're natural, you hit okay, you go to the rest. If you go to the up arrow and hit okay, it's going to ask you, have you converted this? You hit okay. And then it'll go into the circulation settings and stuff like that. But again, I'll power this up and we can go through the whole thing. I can show you. This thing even has an intelligent feature, first one on the market, that basically it learns the habits of the people you install this for. Really great product. Other companies have come out with it, but again, this buffer tank, which is back here behind this styrofoam, is their patented piece. Now, back here is the actual lever. The lever is facing 9 o'clock. All right, that's interior. So that means that this pump is what's being used. If you flip it to the 6 o'clock, it'll be for an exterior pump. This is your check valve right here. Your check valve is removable. Let me see, I might be able to actually get down into this. Let's see if we can. There we go. You can see it now. So, there's your lever right back there. There's your check valve right there. So it's got a built-in check valve. You don't need to put any other check valves on the system because there's no water going back into the cold water side so that you have to worry about migrating water back to the cold water pipe. All right, so that is basically the introduction in a nutshell of the unit. There's thermistors, there's heat freeze protection on it. There's everything that every other tankless company has. But what I really like, if you notice, there's no wires right here. There is no wires. There is just air. Because the wiring goes in a C. So when you're removing this heat exchanger, and that's another thing I'm going to bring up. Once you remove the wiring, you remove the gas, you remove the venturi, all right? You remove this heat exchanger. There's 11 screws. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, and 6 on this side. This whole heat exchanger comes out in one piece. You even get a new igniter. So you're getting the burner, the primary and secondary heat exchanger. So if your heat exchanger fails, you don't have to put 3, either they're going to give you a primary or a secondary, then you got to put the burner, you got to put new gaskets and those new screws, O-rings, yada, yada, yada. Here, you're just going to take this heat exchanger out, take the brand new heat exchanger, it's assembled in one piece and back into the unit, holding it up, putting your screws in, tightening it up, and then reassembling everything. Again, we're going to go through that. So if you remember when I went through the parts kits for the NPN and the NPE, it's 2 big parts kits on kind of like Pelican rolling boxes. Everything is in that box except the heat exchanger. So it's basically, you have, just every part you need, and then if you need a heat exchanger, you get the authorization through tech support, you go get yourself a heat exchanger, you put it in. But that's it. So you've got a big rolling box full of parts, and you've got this, and a heat exchanger. And you don't have to assemble this to this and this to this. You're getting it in one piece, and I'm pretty sure you're getting the igniter with it. Don't hold me to it, but I'm pretty sure you do get the igniter. Okay, so again, remember, it comes natural gas from Korea, from the factory. You have to convert it. And if you actually, and I'll include it in my description below, I'll include my Instagram. And on my Instagram, I actually have very nice photos of like one step of converting one of these. And again, we'll be doing a video on it, but if you want to really see it in a photo, and again, it is very easy. 4 screws, 2 screws, put it up. Oh, when you take it down, I always take a nice clean rag and wipe off the 2 faces to make sure nothing is on it. Just make sure that your O-ring is here, your main O-ring is there, your figure 8 is the one behind the orifice, and the orifice is one direction. It'll only go in one way. And then you put it in. Again, make sure the writing is facing out. That's the best way to think of it. Put those 2 little screws in. Just take your time. Get them in. You don't need to crank them down. Pretty much everything is a clip to take it off. Like with this, you just pull this clip. You pull the clip back there. This comes off. 4 screws. Boom. You got your turbine to clean it out if dirt got in it. I love the product. Very nice. Okay, YouTube. Email will be in the description below. If you have a question, message me. If you're interested in my training, message me and I'll send you the information on the training that I provide here in the studio. All right, YouTube. I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, thanks for all the questions, the comments, the likes, the subscribes, yada, yada, yada. Thank you. I greatly appreciate it. You all be safe out there, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye now.